What is going on, everybody? It's Matt Marchese, also known as Islanders Daily, your home from everything for the four-time Stanley Cup champions, New York Islanders. On today's episode, we have an exciting day. We're going to be talking about a new topic. I'm going to be discussing keys to the season in which the Islanders can use to hopefully make a playoff push, and who knows, maybe even more. We got a little Zach Parise news today, a name that we haven't heard for a little while. We have an Matthew Schaefer earned my spot quote that he talked today about at the NHLPA Rookie Showcase, which is definitely cool. And then we have our Tony DeAngelo outlook for the season. So to start things off, we're going to be talking about one of my keys to the season. And in fact, this is the biggest key to the season, not just for the Islanders, not just specifically towards hockey, but for every single sports team around. And the key to the season is you must stay healthy if you want a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup. That is the number one thing. The Islanders need to stay healthy. Last year, we saw them deal with the injury plague, and you could see it really affected them. You know, no goalies besides Sorokin. Barzal was out. Duclair was out. It was just a nightmare-fueled year for the Islanders with all the injuries they had to deal with. And in tow with that, it caused them to have horrible season in the grand scheme of things. Last year was a horrible season. They were unable to stay healthy, so they were injured a lot. A lot of the players were injured. And for the Islanders, that's a recipe for disaster. The Islanders don't have some of this talent where other teams have, like a pure superstar where they can carry you over the line. You know, and even teams who do have pure superstars to carry you over the line, you need a full team. And staying healthy is an absolute necessity to make the playoffs this year for the Islanders. The Islanders will not make the playoffs this year if they are unable to stay healthy. We need a full season from Barzal. We need a full season from Duclair. We need solid goaltending as the backup options, and that's why we signed David Rittich in them. So staying healthy is such a necessity for the Islanders, and that is the major key to the season for the Islanders, is to stay healthy. We need to stay healthy if we want any fighting chance to make the postseason. But who knows? Hopefully the Islanders are able to stay healthy and get things rolling. And I think they will be. I think the Islanders really want, knock on wood again, I think the Islanders really want to prove and go out there and prove that, hey, last year was a fluke because we were injured. Watch us now that we're all healthy. We're going to show you the team we truly are. So going from there, we're going to be talking a little bit about Zach Parise, who was just inducted to the USA Hockey Hall of Fame. And obviously well-deserving for Zach Parise, probably one of the greatest American players in hockey history. And, yeah, well-deserving. You know, he played on the Islanders for only 2 years, but those 2 years he played on the Islanders, I loved watching Zach Parise every moment. In his first year here in 82 games, he had 15 goals, 20 assists for 35 points. And then the next year, 82 games, he had 21 goals, 13 assists for 34 points, all at the ages of 37 and 38 years old. So Parise was doing it his whole career, even at those older ages. And, you know, I really enjoyed Parise as an Islander. It brings back memories to when supposedly we traded Andrew Ladd for Zach Parise a while ago, but that fell through. He still found his way on the island, and just a huge congratulations to Zach Parise for that huge honor. Definitely well-deserved for him. Truly an American hockey legend, and so well-deserved, and I'm so glad to see him there. You know, we know Parise more for his time with the Devils and the Wild, but certainly those 2 years with the Islanders, yes, we didn't make the playoffs one of those years, but he was definitely a fun player to watch, and he was somebody who you could rely on as a fan. You knew he'd go out there and do his job, and that's exactly what he did. So on to our next topic for the day. We're going to be talking about Matthew Schaefer, who had an interview today with the NHL Network at the Rookie Showcase where he was at. And in this interview, Schaefer talked about how he must earn his spot. It's not something that's going to be given to him, and he's ready to go out there. And here's a quote from him. It says, "You don't just get stuff given to you, right? You've got to earn it," Schaefer said. So you've got to earn your spot, and he said he still needs to earn his spot on this training camp, and he's going to go out in training camp and preseason and put everything on the line to prove that he deserves to be in the NHL. Now, Matthew Schaefer was also the youngest player at this camp, or at the showcase, Rookie Showcase, which is really cool to see. You know, he's still only 17. His birthday's September 5th. So coming up, he will finally turn 18, Matthew Schaefer. So he's just so young to already be like so focused and everything. He's clearly going to be someone who I can say confidently that he will be the future captain of the New York Islanders, Matthew Schaefer. And he says a lot of like the work ethic and his reason that he needs to prove himself is due to the people he was working with over the offseason and who he was training with in Sean Monahan, Nazem Kadri, Scott Lofton. He said they all have a work ethic where you learn that from them. You want to learn from them. And that's huge just to hear for Schaefer saying this stuff. You know, we know he's trained with Mark Giordano. And this is just really, really cool. He says working with these guys makes him a better player, makes him want to really prove himself. And he was also asked about it if he does make the camp, out of camp right away. The first two players he will face is Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. And he said, you know, he thinks that would be awesome, but he's not giving too much thought to that right now. His only goal in mind is to make the Islanders roster out of training camp. And obviously, I think he will. We were able to see him in the full uniform. And yeah, so he says it's still a lot of work to do, and there's still a lot for him to do. But we heard from players. Mark Gatcomb was at that rookie showcase as well, which is funny because Gatcomb's 26, Schaefer's 17, nearly 10 years older than him. And he's 9 years older than him. And it's just funny to see two guys. And Mark Gatcomb had words of praise for Schaefer, saying he's a very genuine, humble kid, couldn't be nicer. He's super happy, and he's always got a smile on his face no matter what. And that's the exact player the Islanders need. That is the exact player the Islanders need. Matthew Schaefer's somebody who's going to go out there and wants to prove to the world that he is a star. And Matthew Schaefer, he's going to do it. Matthew Schaefer will prove that he is a star already. He's talking about nothing's given to him in life. And we've heard all about his personal story and everything. Very tough and just so incredible how he's been able to deal with that. And to come now into the NHL saying nothing's given and he's going to work his butt off to make this team. I can't wait to see it. I will be locked in for preseason, locked in for training camp, and I think all Islanders fans should be to see how Schaefer performs, as he is somebody who truly wants to make this roster. He's somebody who truly wants to be an Islander, and he will be the captain of the New York Islanders in a few years. And I'm excited for the rookie season of Matthew Schaefer, and I can't wait till we talk about his outlook. Today probably would have been a good day, but I'm saving him towards the start of the season. So from there, we will transition to our outlook. And today it is our Tony DeAngelo outlook. And I am so excited to talk about Tony DeAngelo. He is such an interesting player to me, Tony DeAngelo. Where last year we got him midseason in 35 games. He had 4 goals, 15 assists for 19 points. And he is that offensive defenseman we need. We lost Noah Dobson. Tony DeAngelo is going to slide right into Noah Dobson's role and play with Alexander Romanov this year. And funny enough, I think I shouldn't say Tony DeAngelo's better. I shouldn't say Tony DeAngelo's better. But Tony DeAngelo's exactly what the Islanders need. Now, I know we've always heard about Tony DeAngelo has locker room problems or whatever. Who knows how true that is? I remember him getting in a fist fight with Alexander Georgiev or something. Who knows what's going on there? I think he has matured. I think he is a player that the Islanders, they wouldn't have re-signed him if they didn't think he was a good locker room guy. They clearly had respect for him. They clearly think he's a solid defenseman. And they're bringing him here. And Tony DeAngelo, this is why it's so interesting. He is over, a half point per game player. In 406 career games, he has 229 points, Tony DeAngelo. He is a solid offensive defenseman. And with the full year with the New York Islanders, I think we could easily see 45 points from Tony DeAngelo. I don't think that's out of the question at all. A healthy year with Tony DeAngelo, if he's able to stay healthy, all right, 45 maybe is a little too much. Maybe, but I easily think we could see a 40-point to 45-point season with Tony DeAngelo. Now, he hasn't had above a 40-point season since 21-22, but as we all know, he did that with the Flyers in 64 games, and then the next year with the Flyers in 70 games, in 2022-23 he did it. My apologies. He had 42 points. 2023-24 with the Hurricanes in 31 games, he had 11 points. So when he is playing these full seasons, Tony DeAngelo's never played a full season. The most games he's ever played in a season is 70 with the Flyers in 22-23. So if Tony DeAngelo gets a full season where he's healthy and actually performing how we think Tony DeAngelo can, I can easily see him putting up 40 to 45 points. And I think that's what we should expect from him. We know he can do that. He's half a point per game player. He's right there. He's half a point per game player. This is something he averages is the 40 points, and I really, really think we will see that from Tony DeAngelo this season. Now, that might be a little optimistic by me. As you all know, I'm quite the optimist. So, to maybe make it a little more realistic, I'm going to say Tony DeAngelo will put up 35 points this year for the Islanders, but do not be surprised if Tony DeAngelo does put up 40 to 45 points. So, that's going to be all for today. I thank you all for tuning in and listening, and as always, let's go Islanders.